when we don't experience real connection with people and we're performative all the time, we are desperate for people to tell us things, to connect with us. But even if they do connect with us, we know it's not the real me. So we don't have any real social fulfillment. There's a French philosopher named Sartre, and he wrote about this thing, and it's now commonly referred to as Sartre's hell. You get these three people, and they're essentially in hell, but hell is other people. And it's not in a way that you might think. In Sartre's hell, you get locked in a room, sort of locked in a room with these three people, and everyone needs so badly for other people to acknowledge something about them. I need everybody to see that I'm a good person. I need everybody to see that I'm beautiful. I need everybody to see that I have a good heart, or whatever it is. And in Sartre's hell, they're desperate. There's three people, and he goes up to one of the other people, and one of the guys says, I need you to tell me that I'm a good person. I need you to tell me this about myself. And the other person says, yes, that is you. And he doesn't believe him. So he refuses to believe him, but he's still desperate for them to keep saying it and keep saying it. And the funny thing is, the door opens like once a day so they can walk right out of the room and no one leaves, because they're desperate to confirm these things. They're desperate to confirm who they are through the eyes of other people. And that's where we are right now. All of us getting into this desperation for, if I get enough likes on this video, if I don't have a pimple on my chin, then people are going to think I'm more credible. If I don't say these words right, then people are going to think I'm less credible. So I want to confirm what I believe about myself through the behavior of other people. And that is Sartre's hell. And I think that we are living in a digital version of Sartre's hell right now.
I do want to touch back a bit, because I realize I glided past something you said. You said that a lot of the main anchors at the big media companies were CIA operatives. Do you think that's happening today?
Yes.
Did you think I was a CIA operative?
No.
What are the signs?
You mean like, what should we look for online? I think when somebody is asked a difficult question about their government, their agency that they might be working for, they might answer it in a negative way, but then they'll say, yes, but they do all this good thing and that good thing and that good thing. So that I think that allegiance mandates some kind of PR maintenance. So asking those really difficult questions are the way that I see people respond to those. And it doesn't make me say, oh yeah, 100% that guy is an agent or whatever. But it does make me say, interesting. That's interesting. That person got asked about something that happened in the 1950s with the CIA. And they said, like, yes, they did that back then. However, nowadays, their new focus is this and this and this. And they'll throw a little commercial on top of the admission of the negative thing that happened.
Yeah, I think Gen Z, maybe this is biased, because this is at least my belief, but I think people would be surprised that the CIA is sophisticated enough to infiltrate the influencers that Gen Z and Gen Alpha watch. Because they're like, oh, there's no way these older guys are able to get in here and do this kind of thing with us. You know, like, we're watching TikTok, we're watching, I don't know, Sora AI videos, Instagram Reels. But if you were theoretically going to design a psychological operation, what would be the main areas you think you would have covered on social media?
You mean like if I wanted to recruit someone like you?
No, I suppose, like, do you think they're everywhere? Do you think it's just media? Do you think it's podcasts maybe? Do you think it's TikTokers? Like, how many, is it everywhere?
I think it's in every area where media is consumed, yeah.
It's fascinating.
And I'm not saying, let's be clear, So when I'm saying like somebody's an operative or whatever word you want to use, they're not like walking around on their off time, just pulling out their secret CIA ID card and badging into the main building. That's not what happens. Even if you go back to Project Mockingbird, they're just getting some talking points in a letter every once in a while. They're just saying, oh, you know what? Don't have this guy on your show, or don't allow this to be spoken about on your show. Or if they talk about this, you're going to cut it out. There's simple things like that. Some very basic instructions. And the way that somebody like a Gen Z person might get recruited is, let's just use a hypothetical person instead of a real person.
So you're talking about how someone like me could get recruited into this.
Yeah.
So it's not like designed from birth.
Oh, no, not at all. They'll typically capitalize on the people who already have talent and skill. It's not like they're going to they don't have to worry about that, because people are going to rise to the top and they don't have to worry about training them in charisma, media, on-camera presence. They just find the people that are already doing well. So it saves them a lot of time and a lot of money. So let's say one day, let's just use you as an example. Somebody comes up and says, hey man, I love your podcast, yada, yada. They're in a restaurant, a bar, whatever. And they say, I have a serious question for you though. Are you a patriot? Would you consider yourself a patriot? Now I've got you locked into identity, right? Exactly what we talked about at the beginning of our show here. So you consider yourself a patriot. Then we'll go on a little bit. I'll get you to make a few more comments and stuff like that. And I'll get you to make a few more agreements that say that, yeah, I support the country and all that kind of stuff. And then I say, well, I have an offer for you, but before I show you anything, I just want you to say yes or no. Would you be willing to entertain the offer and look at what I have? And it might be uncomfortable. Would you be willing to look at it?
Sure.
Yep. Stage one is I show you all of your browsing history, captures from your webcams on all of your phones and computers of you doing the most compromising shit you could ever possibly imagine. Every bad thing you've ever done, recorded in some way. And I'd say, I like your podcast. I think you're doing a great job, and I want to protect you. And I want to keep all this from the public eye. But we also want to give you $20,000 a month. So I'm going to protect you, and B, I'm going to give you $20K a month from all this. So you have the carrot and you have the stick at the exact same briefing, and you agreed to receive the briefing from me even after I told you it was going to be stressful. So now you feel like you chose all of this. So you walk away not feeling like I shoved this in your face. I told you it was going to be stressful, and you agreed to it, and you agreed that you're a patriot and all the other agreements. And now if you say yes, the reason that you're doing this on your podcast is for your country, because you're not going to call yourself compromised. We have this thing called cognitive dissonance that keeps our brain from thinking I'm a bad person. We have a hardwired thing in our brain that says, I did this bad thing for this good reason. It's in everybody's brain. So now when you go back on the podcast, you're going to go back to that sense of patriotism, because that's how that person anchored that conversation at the very beginning and probably at the very end. So now, even though you're being asked to silence people, not have certain people on the show, leave something out of your podcast, you're telling yourself, and whoever's your handler is telling you, this is for the greater good. This is for the good of the country, because we have these brand new initiatives that are coming out. The Saudis are doing X and Y and Z. Chinese are preparing operations to do X and Y and Z. And if this thing got out, it could have caused a massive panic and a massive crisis. So you did the right thing, and you kept the Americans safe by doing that. And you'll tell yourself that, and you'll feel good about it. So when a person is like in this situation, they will feel good about what they're doing. Even if it feels a little off in the back of their mind, they'll still feel like at the end of the day, I'm doing the right thing.
What happens if I say no?
At the end of the day, if you said no, then, and this is all hypothetical, I'm making all of this up completely. At the end of the day, if you said no, the conversation would turn to, well, I think you're doing a great job. I appreciate you having this discussion with me. And I have to say that there is no way that I can prevent this stuff from reaching the public eye unless you decide to work with us. And all I'm asking you to do is just work with us once a week for 5 minutes. But it's up to you. And that'll be a mind virus in your brain for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it'll never go away. And all I've got to do is leave you a business card with a phone number on it. And you'll call. Eventually you'll call.
That's fascinating. Chase, you and these crazy hypotheticals, man.
I just make them up.
As a government mind control expert, we'll say, what psyop do you think is being run on you, or what psyop have you been susceptible to?
I think about 3 years ago, and these were all political. This is like I started, I followed one conservative person, and then I got all these other things. And damn, I was never going to admit this on anywhere. But I got down to a point where I was on X under an hour a day, because I have these app time limits. Now they're like 8 minutes. And I don't even have social media on my entire phone anymore. But now I got to this point where I was just seeing so much of this doom and gloom. The world's going to end. The country's going to end. You need to start preparing for World War III, all this crazy shit, that I invested in a survival property. I bought things that way too much money that I shouldn't have spent. And I just completely bought into this. And at the end of the day, when they said, oh, all this shit's going to happen, all this stuff's going to go down, I was sitting there with all of this stuff, sitting there looking around at all this stuff. And I was like, I am such a fool. And I felt bad for a minute, but it's just I have a human brain. I'm not superhuman. I don't have a super immunity to any of this stuff. So it's definitely something that anybody can fall for. And taking a break, like what I call a media diet, is maybe, with what's going on today with depression and loneliness and anxiety and all this stuff, it might be one of the healthiest things that you can possibly do. It definitely changed my life.
So just to recap and put it succinctly, how do you protect yourself from being brainwashed? And how do you kind of not be affected by any type of psyop ever?
That's impossible. But the fastest way to do this is, and I built this method for myself. And number one is, what is grabbing your focus? So I need to train my brain to look for manufactured novelty, some unexpected thing, something that we never saw coming. It's a big black swan event that no one saw. Train your brain to look for that. So that's the first way to hijack the mammalian brain is focus. Second is authority. So you train your brain the moment that an authority figure comes up, even if it's like some Hollywood celebrity commenting on politics. It's maybe a politician coming out and saying these people are bad. Train your brain to look for authority figures, and especially when their messages line up. So part 3 of this is tribe. We start understanding and being able to spot the ways that artificial tribe is being manufactured. So if I own Facebook, let's say, or it doesn't matter, I'm not singling out Facebook. If I own a social media company, I can fake it to you that there are tens of thousands of people who agree with XYZ ideas. And the moment that I get you to believe that lots of people are adopting this new behavior, this new idea, then I get you to go along with that. And this is proven in research, study upon study. Some of these studies that are just fascinating to look at. These are done in the 60s. A lot of these done in the 60s. So we have focus, authority, tribe, and then emotion. So when am I getting emotionally played? Not just when is something making me feel emotional. A good commercial makes you feel emotional. Like there was some of these Super Bowl commercials that people would cry during these commercials because they were so well done. That's okay. When am I being emotionally hijacked? And here's the way to tell when you're being hijacked. And in hypnosis, this is a hypnosis technique that I think was invented by this guy named Dr. Milton Erickson, who's like the grandfather of hypnotherapy. He's the reason that hypnosis and genuine hypnotherapy got approved by the American Medical Association, the American Psychiatric Association. And this technique is called fractionation. And in a fractionation, I have your emotions here, and I show you things to bring it up here, piss you off, and then bring you down again to something that's joyous and happy and reverent and kind and awesome. Then I bring you back up again. And then when I pull you back down, you'll be twice as vulnerable. Then I bring you back up again, pull you down. You're twice as vulnerable. So just to give you the corollary and like how this came from hypnosis, if I'm hypnotizing you and I only allow you to wake up a little bit, just to a point where your eyes open a little bit, and then I put you back down, you'll go deeper. Then I wake you up a little bit, just where your eyes open, push you back down, you'll go deeper every time. So this makes us hyper suggestible. So being very keen and very aware of when I'm going up and then back down and then up and then back down. And if you're really good at this, you'll be able to spot where the ads, you'll know before you see an ad.
Quick one. Something Chase taught me on our last interview was that being well-researched gives you a significant advantage when entering a conversation with someone. So now when I have a guest on my podcast, I try to learn the little details, hidden gems, things that they would never think I would know about them, so our content is as good as possible. This is a big reason we had to start using Poppy for all of our content, because with their platform, you can take documents, voice memos, tweets, podcasts, TikToks, and connect them all to a chatbot that instantly transcribes and lets you interact with several pieces of content at once. As someone with over 15 billion views on social media, good research is your competitive edge when it comes to going viral. So if you want the most powerful AI tool to improve your content, just go to jackneal.com/poppy. They have a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if it doesn't give you value, it's completely free. You can also scan the QR code on screen or hit the first link in the description. But anyway, guys, back to the podcast.
So you'll see riots. Then you'll see fighting. Then you'll see a body cam footage of somebody getting in a fight with a cop or arguing with a police officer to kind of like, kind of get your heart racing a little bit. And then you'll see maybe one more thing that pisses you off. Then you'll see some other party person, left or right, doesn't matter. You'll see some political thing that pisses you off and makes you hate. Tribalism. So it's injecting the tribe. So that's focus, then authority, and then tribe. And then we have emotion. And that emotion starts right as that big thing is pissing you off. Then you'll scroll one more time and it'll be one of those videos of like, oh yeah, we just found this baby coyote on our back porch and he was injured. So we splinted his leg and we bottle fed him. And then it shows this little coyote, like a time lapse of him growing up, sleeping in the bed, playing with their baby, playing with the dogs, all this stuff. And it's like, wow, like you get this big emotional rush. That's fractionation. And then right after that little baby coyote video, ad. You'll get an ad. And no human came up with this. I definitely didn't teach them this. The algorithm started understanding what makes people click. So paying attention to that is step one. Step two is, where am I seeing these narratives repeated throughout multiple media sources? I'm seeing lots of the same exact thing from multiple places. And number three, and this might be the most important of all, is where am I seeing people who disagree get ostracized? Am I seeing people get exiled from some community because they disagreed with something? And those are the signs that you're in a cult as well. It's the same shit that cults do to recruit members and keep members. Like, what does a cult go through? I'm going to get you to adopt a whole lot of new beliefs and new identities. I'm going to introduce you to a cult following. Like, you have to stay in this members. I'm going to get you to start tribalizing yourself with these people versus everybody on the outside. There's an in-group and an out-group. Then there's the cult ideology and dogma that you have to follow. It's just this rigorous thing to start changing your behaviors. What you're seeing on social media, and not just social media, the media overall, is basically what cults do to people. I'm going to isolate you and show you that you're powerless without these things. You have to follow this leader. You have to follow this doctrine. You have to excommunicate yourself from this tribe because they don't agree with you. They're creating a cult. It's exactly what we're seeing. And I'm not trying to be dramatic here, but maybe that'll make for a good 60-second short or something. But at the end of the day, if I feel like if I adopt a belief and I can feel morally righteous because I believe something, that is completely fabricated. That was engineered into your brain. But the hardest part about doing this, and people will say, like, what's the checklist? What do I need to do to protect myself? The hardest part is admitting that you're vulnerable to it. Because a lot of people are like, no, I got all these ideas myself. I did research and I did all this and I looked at this document, because our brain's job is to prove us right. So like, you see the same stuff in a Tony Robbins seminar. It's like, if you continue saying you're not successful, your brain's job is to prove you right. But if you continue saying the people on the far right are absolute dipshits, or the people on the far left are dipshits, your brain's going to just look for evidence to prove you right. That's its main job. So you have to be able to admit that I have been manipulated before. That's got to be step one.
It's fascinating. Would you say I know Tony Robbins was trained in hypnotherapy, right?
Yeah.
Is that fairly common for large, I don't want to say cult leaders, but people with a large audience that's very loyal to them?
No.
They're trained in hypnosis?
No. Manson did. Charles Manson.
Yeah.
Studied hypnosis and a few other things, but mainly I think his main book in prison was like How to Win Friends and Influence People back then. It's like a Dale Carnegie book, which is one of the best books ever written on like just having good social skills. But I think that the people who rise to the top and become cult leaders, you have, number one, you have like a grandiose narcissism, and you can't have a malignant narcissist as a cult leader. It's a lot harder to do that. Grandiose narcissism, like my confidence in me and how perfect I am and how flawless I am, is so strong that you'll just buy into it. So you have that. And I think that people that rise to the top and become famous cult leaders, the ones that we hear about, because for everyone we hear about, there's 1,000, 10,000 that we don't even know about. So the ones we hear about, I think, naturally become good at those skills that resemble hypnosis because they're calculating human behavior their whole life from the time they're 3 or 4 years old. They learn, if I say this one phrase, it makes mom emotional. If I do this one thing, I can get away with this. Or if I pay really close attention, I can hear Uncle Johnny's insecurities, and I'm going to file that away, and I'm going to use it later on in our conversation because I know those insecurities and I'm going to use them a little bit later.
I think it would be useful for people to use these tactics for good, of course, but
you certainly can.
How do you quickly spot someone's number one insecurity?
It's, I don't know about quickly. Well, you can do it very quickly. To teach you, it would take a few minutes. Let's go into it if you want to do it. So the first thing is you need to spot what they need from other people. So typically, if I know what you need to be seen as from other people, I know what was probably missing in your childhood right away. And there's 6 social needs that we teach at NCI University. And these are significance, approval, acceptance, intelligence, pity, and power or strength. And it's not that I need to be powerful. It's not that I need to be significant or accepted. It's I need people to see that I am those things. So the guy that's driving the giant jacked up pickup truck with like the plastic nuts hanging off the trailer hitch, and the MMA I fight all the time sticker and the Glock sticker on the back of his truck, all like just Mr. Tough Guy. He doesn't have a need to be powerful all the time. He has a need for you to see him as powerful. And those are 2 very different things. Very different. So if you're just in a casual conversation and you hear somebody say, oh yeah, I've been working there for 20 years and still everybody calls me up, even after I retired, they still call me and ask for my advice. That's significance. You're hearing significance right away. If you hear, let's just make it a company they used to work for. Somebody says, yeah, I actually worked there for 20 years. It was the greatest group of people. Everybody takes care of each other. Boom, acceptance. You're hearing it right away. Or if you hear somebody say, yeah, I mean, I worked at that company for 20 years, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be good at the speech tomorrow. I always mess these things up. just so you'll say, oh no, Jack, you're going to do great. You're going to be really good. You did great last time. You know your stuff. That's approval. Or you hear somebody say, I worked at that company 20 years. It was right after I got my master's degree in blank and I wrote my paper on this, which led me to a managerial position over there, intelligence. Or somebody says, I've been working at that company 20 years and they never really pay attention to anybody. It was horrible. We had horrible hours coming in. Our boss was a total asshole and I had to endure that for 20 years. Pity. So the pity needs person is one of the most confusing. It's not that they want pity. It's that they want you to understand how bad they had it or how much they went through. And our instinct with a pity person is to say, no, man, it's not that bad. It was pretty good. You got a good paycheck. You had a good time. Not all the bosses were assholes. That's not what they want. So the moment you do that, it's like them knocking on your door and asking whether or not you're a drug dealer for the drug that they need. And you're going, no, not me. So we get dopamine and we get neuropeptides that flood our system when we get what we want socially. And what was the one we left out? Oh, the strength and power. Like I worked at that company 20 years and I was always the boss. Everybody looked up to me. Everybody asked me for advice. And there was a lot of these little weak guys down in the sales department that couldn't make sales. But I went down there and I told them, just the tough acting people. So that's one way of just seeing what people need socially.
We'll ask on pity, what's the best thing to say? Just simply, that sucks, or that sucks because of XYZ?
Somebody says like, well, I was in that relationship for way too long and now I'm starting to go to college and now I'm starting to get my own job, but it was still abusive and I still think about it all the time. My response to that person might be like, I don't know how you keep it together. I think most of these people that see you every day, they have no idea what you've been through and what you've endured to get where you are here today.
So add on something and make them feel understood, maybe?
Not understood. You're adding what I covertly said was that other people don't get you. But am I saying that I get you? Did I say the words, Jack, I totally get you? No. I'm implying it and you putting it together in your own head. I'm not saying it out loud. So now it's your own idea, your own thought. But let's go through these 6 needs again. So if I'm significance, I'm asking the question, do other people see me as significant? So do other people realize how bad I've had it? Do other people see me as powerful? But each one of those carries with it a childhood wound of something that was missing or something that didn't get acknowledged. And we carry stuff from childhood way too far into adulthood without us ever knowing it. And this is all of us. But if I have a significance, identify a significance person within probably 60 seconds in any conversation. You can identify these needs in listening to people. We have a completely free course at NCI University you can take like instantly that walks you through some really good training on this. But if I know your significance, I know that your fear and your secret insecurity that not even your friends know is feeling insignificant and being left out and not making a difference. It's so clear. And if your need is acceptance, I automatically know that your insecurity is being left out, being exiled, or being made fun of in front of other people or people laughing at you. If it's approval, it's that you're always right. All of your insecurities are right. And you're going to mess this up. So people confirming that. And if it's the intelligence thing, it's being seen as stupid or being publicly judged for not being smart. If it's the pity thing, then their secret insecurity is no one's going to know what you've been through to get where you are. No one's going to acknowledge you ever. No one's going to understand you. So each one of those, we can see the insecurities very clearly. And there's deeper layer. This is like the preschool level of this stuff. And within probably 2 minutes, just using the system, you can see deeper into a person's life than their family and their best friends. And it's extremely reliable.
In our last interview, I asked you to make a few predictions about me without speaking to me. But now that we spent some time together, what would you say my biggest insecurity is?
So I would say that your two are probably significance and intelligence.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
And it's very clear that your acceptance is not that high. Like people who are more in the acceptance will be more raising their eyebrows during a conversation. They'll ask for a confirmation. They'll talk about teams. They'll talk about we came out here. We traveled this. We did that. They'll use a lot more of those pronouns that talk about groups of people. And the approval people are pretty easy to spot. They're just saying statements to make you go, oh, no, you're good. So I know that you're automatically within maybe 2 minutes of meeting you, I would know that your insecurities are feeling like you make no difference at all, that you're insignificant, and that people think you're stupid.
So that's pretty fair. Would you say, I don't want to guess yours, but would you say yours is significance related?
Yep. Significance, intelligence for mine too.
I didn't catch intelligence. That's interesting. But
by the guy who wrote 7 books.
That's fair. Chase, what does where someone sits say about what they want from you?
What do you mean? Like at a table?
Just, I guess the way they sit, where they sit, their proximity. I know you talk about proxemics.
Mm-hmm.
What can you kind of tell from that?
I would say it's hard with sitting because if it's a new environment, there's going to be new behaviors. The brain's not adapting yet. I would look over time. So the number one thing you can do when you're looking at body language, nonverbal communication is look for changes. So looking at initial conditions is not always going to give you a good read. So look how the conversation starts and watch the changes in that person's body as it evolves. The number one thing you can look at, did we talk about blink rate on the last show? Yeah, we spend so much of our time looking in people's eyes, and it's an unconscious behavior that you can look, that someone blinking more often is stress, less often is more focused. And your job is to take people's blink rate and lower it through a conversation. So we're not just looking at a snapshot of fast or slow. We're watching for when does it start speeding up? When does it start slowing down? If I'm speaking on stage, I'll look out in the crowd. And if I'm looking in people's eyes, like around the room, and as I'm talking, if I see people blinking more often, I'll just change the subject. I'll raise my voice. I'll jump off the stage and walk around a little bit, and I'll regain that focus and look around the room again, and I'll see the blink rate has dropped again. But when you look at a person's body, you want to, there's a whole lot of things we could look at, like breathing and angles and all this kind of stuff, but you want to look for, are they leaning back or leaning forward? And one of the biggest things that we teach people in influence of sales and with NCI is that we don't make big decisions with our backs against a chair. It just doesn't happen. So they teach all these cool closing techniques, exactly what to say to close the sale, but the person's kicked back and like leaned back in a chair. Your goal is to get their body to agree first before their brain does, because that's our first language. We've been moving our bodies and communicating with each other with bodies for 1 million years. Who the hell knows how long? But this language thing is very new to us. There's a hierarchical structure in our head for our auditory cortex. We have a visual cortex. We have all this hearing system and sound processing cortices in our brain. There is no structure for language. None. Not one structure in the human brain for language. There's an area where we kind of default throw some language skills into. There's 2. But we have to understand that we've been communicating with our bodies a long time. So if I want you to do something, I'm going to make sure that your body starts agreeing before I ever ask your brain to start agreeing. So if you're leaned back in a conversation, I might think that you're not, it doesn't mean you're disengaged. Like, don't believe that body language stuff you see on the internet where this always means this. If anything tells you that, it might be a crappy source of information. But if I'm seeing someone leaned back, and then we have a contract here on the table, and I slide this over and say, what do you think about it? Or I hand you a pen or give you a glass of water, I'm going to get you to start leaning forward. That's the only time that I'm going to start talking, once your body is doing what I need it to start doing.
What can you tell about a person by the way they speak?
I would watch for changes again. But if I'm seeing a rapid speech, I know that that's probably how their brain works. And I know that when they really want to stop and make a big decision, or I need to convince them to do something, I'm going to have to slow their speech down over time. And I'm going to have to set that example of talking slower throughout a conversation so that they start mirroring that behavior a little bit, and they start seeing that there's physical permission in front of them to start speaking a little bit slower. There's not much about a voice by itself that I would say, but let's say you were talking a certain way, and the moment that I mentioned one subject, call it whatever you want. Let's say I mentioned politics or something, and your voice starts speeding up. I'm seeing a change. So like the first, I don't think people get training in this stuff enough, that you read this article on 17 ways to tell when somebody's lying, or 12 indicators that he's cheating on you, like just absolute bullshit articles, which I've written a couple. I know. It's like I wrote a couple as I was starting out, just because it gets clicks, but it gives people a little bit of a placebo of understanding. So at the end of the day, if you get good at detecting changes, then you are better than most people on YouTube that are talking about body language. If you're good at looking for changes and then being able to say, oh, I did this one thing, or this topic came up, or this thing happened, then I saw the blinking change and the breathing change and the body shifted, the voice changed. You just get good at looking for changes and then understand the meaning later. Like, start looking it up later. Just become a change detective when it comes to people, and you will be so much better than if you had spent years studying all this body language stuff.
I will say that it seems like you do have a couple things that you've noted in the past that are reliable over and over again. Like on our last podcast, you talked about the things that you could tell just simply by looking at someone's face, like the soft, what are they called? The soft under eyes?
Yeah,
basically.
lower eyelid. Yeah.
Lower eyelids. If someone conceals their forehead, they're less trustworthy, that kind of thing. Is there anything else like that you've noticed? I remember Marcel telling a story. I don't know if it was about you or about someone else who had a similar skill set to you, about a girl he was dating that you could tell that she was bulimic or something. Yeah. Is there any other things that you look for that are reliable across the board?
I think there's very, very few. And even those little things about wrinkles on the face and all that, I would say those are anecdotes too. They're not hard, fast rules. You have to be doing this stuff for a while. The only way that I knew somebody was bulimic, it's not because she like talked a certain way or anything. She had one finger on her whole hand where the cuticles were worn down from like acid exposure, and you could see little teeth marks on her knuckle on that same finger. That's the only reason I knew that. But
how did you know to look for that?
I didn't. I just saw her hand, and I always look at people's hands, and I just look around at people. And then there's like a deductive reasoning that happens after that. And I wish there was a way to, maybe there is, but I wish there was a way to write a book about that, where you could just like, oh, you see some shit on somebody's fingernails, let me flip to the fingernail section and like find this thing. Maybe there will be someday, but I find it the most difficult thing to teach people, because I think it's just rooted in experience. Like, I've never written an article on how to look at bulimia in my lifetime, but I knew that was bulimia just by looking at it and using this, maybe it's inductive, I don't know if it's inductive or deductive reasoning, that just came naturally because I'm just so obsessed with human behavior as a whole, and never judgmental. That's the biggest thing. Is like, if you're judging people, you're losing the game. It makes you less influential. It makes you less confident. It makes you less powerful in every situation. But you get to the point of like, I wanted to see behind the curtain. When I was like 19, I wanted to be a psychological voyeur. Like, I wanted to see all the stuff I'm not supposed to see with other people. And that's what started me down this path to begin with. I wanted to see all the things that were hidden in plain sight. And one of the reasons like I became a body language guy was just trying to understand girls as a kid. And like, how do I avoid rejection? How do I know if I'm going to get rejected by somebody? I think over time, though, it goes in phases. When you first learn this stuff, you're hypercritical of yourself. like, oh, how am I looking? How am I sitting? I'm like adjust myself all the time. And that is so exhausting. It was 2 years probably for me of just hyper managing myself. And just because you think like everything's such a big deal. And then you think everybody can see what you see, even though they can't. They don't pay attention to it. So then it becomes like, wow, these people are screwed up. And then the revelation comes like, oh, they're screwed up just like I am. They're a lot like me. They hide insecurities. They don't forgive themselves. They carry around shame 30, 40 years longer than they should be carrying around that shame. And you start realizing that we are so much alike that it's scary, and that we all hide the same thing.